Fans, you won't believe what's coming next. From the success of Shadow Generations to the amazing Sonic CrossWorlds and riding the hype of Sonic Frontiers, Sonic is back and bigger than ever. And today we want to dive into the exact huge leaks and speculations for Sonic Frontiers 2, exploring hints from the recent beta test, and uncovering some shocking details about a hidden Sonic game that you probably never even heard of. And plus I want to break down some massive hints in general for Sonic news that could inhibit and completely change the future of the franchise. Stick around because by the end of the video you'll be able to see exactly how much Sega is planning behind the scenes. And hey, if you do happen to enjoy this kind of content, and also kind of like what I do in general, make sure to leave a like and a subscribe, because it honestly really helps out the channel. And to be honest, I don't really ask for any sorts of goals or anything, like genuinely, if you just like the video, like it. But I'm going to go through a lot of information in a very short amount of time. There's so much Sonic news to go through, so we're going to start off with Sonic City. Sega is encouraging modding for the Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. Very, very awesome. Notice how I've only spent like a second on that, just wanted to let everyone know. This is just some general information, but we'll get to some pretty big and interesting things that I've uncovered basically through tons of research recently over the past couple days. Now the next part is the soundtrack release for Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. The CD release is been set for Wednesday the 26th of November, so the OST CD titled Echoes of Dimension will feature 200 tracks and a 56-page booklet containing the course information and commentaries, which is very, very awesome, because I think that the tracks in this game are really awesome. I know that they had a bit of controversy with the EDM type music, but honestly, I think the music in this game is awesome. Now, the next thing I kind of want to show off and like elaborate on more so is something here from Sonic Series fan. I really hope to see more ramps like this on the map, just like they did with the Beta Kronos map, and do not cut awesome stuff. So basically, if you guys don't know, the Rhea Island and Kronos Island were supposed to be one big island. And the issue that they had was obviously time constraints, but if you were to actually look at the sheer volume of how big these kind of islands were, Shadow Generations is an exception because it was a smaller game, but you can clearly notice how exactly the scale and the budget for Frontiers was, but it was mainly due to time constraints, and that's why I believe that Frontiers 2 will inhibit one huge map. I don't believe they're going to be redoing this whole island theme. Let me know what you think of that. I think that they're going to completely continue on this whole one big open zone kind of idea, and I think they're going to finally start taking advantage of the power of the Switch 2 and obviously the next gen consoles to actually make the games a lot more like immersive. Like for example, how you might be able to go through quick time events, so where you can just go from one place to another. That would be really, really cool to be able to just see Sonic whip from one place to another. Now another thing I kind of wanted to go off here was a really, really cool animation for classic Sonic. Now I think this is a really, really cool turning animation, and kind of emphasizes the way that we've always wanted to see Sonic turn, because I feel like that's always been an issue, and I think it's been kind of fixed in Shadow Generations, but the only issue with Shadow Generations is, well, Shadow kind of skates, so it's very easy to make him look good whilst also running in circles, so that kind of is an issue for Sonic. But if we were to see something where Sonic has a much better turning speed and also the rate, like whilst making the animation look good, that would be perfect. Now Frontiers already has very good control, but I kind of wish that the animation was a bit more flushed out with the way Sonic turned, so that's also something very important to note out. We're going to be going into more of some Frontiers information very, very soon, so just stick around for a couple seconds. And also, we have got this. All of this model is fun, but can we see a fandom agree that this is objectively the best model in the series? Let me know what you think of the adventure model. I think it's pretty awesome, but obviously the 06 model is my favorite. If the 06 model is your favorite, make sure to tell me in the comments, because I want to be friends with all of you that love the 06 model. And I feel like this is a very cool model by CYB. This is a really, really awesome way that Sonic looks, and I especially love the sheen of the shoes, and also the way that there's a kind of a reflection on Sonic himself. We're going through stuff very quickly today, and also this is very important to know out as well. I saw a comment in the previous video that was saying about how each Sonic game should just stay and adapt to the same art style, but I think that the way Sonic is so unique and has such a multimedia presence, I think that we need to have multiple art styles for each Sonic game. So, hot take, I believe that from now on, Sonic games should have a different set of art styles, but in each new game, as I feel the games just have looked the same for far too long. And I also believe that this was the luxury that we used to have back then, but now it's just quickly dropped after the early 2000s. Now, I don't fully agree with like the aspect that we should have different art styles. I think there should just be different kind of games for Sonic. So I think, yeah, we can have different art styles, but all of the main series AAA games should be all kind of like the Frontiers kind of design. And then for the art style of side games, I think that would be perfect to be able to see multiple different art styles, but them to be kind of side games. I think that would be awesome. Now, this is something also by Sonic, by the way. A Chao Tales Halloween special is coming this Friday, so tomorrow, you don't actually have to mark your calendars because it's literally tomorrow. tomorrow. But remember for tomorrow that a Chao Tales series is coming out, so get a bit excited for that. It's nothing crazy, but hey, I like the Chao Tales. I think they're really awesome. And this is a really awesome, speaking of awesome, this is by Mariam, a very, very awesome design of Blaze the Cat. I love the way that this looks, especially like the attention to the lighting. I think lighting can make a lot of Sonic characters look amazing, and that's one of the things that Sega need to kind of pick up on. And I'm not, by no means am I criticizing Sega here, but I think that just for general criticism, I think it's very important to have lighting just implemented more coherently throughout Sonic games, because the Sonic Frontiers model can take a massive upgrade, even just in specific areas where the lighting is amazing in Frontiers, and I think that's an incredibly important part to note out. Now this is a pretty awesome part that I wanted to kind of point out here, and this is by the Sonic series fan. The amount of Sonic beta content I wish Sonic's team would see to release to the public. It could be a demo, or at least we could see on YouTube with the official Sonic livestream, and I'd love to see what they could cook behind the scenes. My mind would definitely explode. Now we're going to get into this cutscene, this kind of like screenshot in a second, but it's very, very important to note out. But this is also another really cool thing by Ulian2043 that said the beta test 2 of the Streamlined Sonic Frontiers mod. This is a mod, by the way. I know that she says that there, but the point that I'm trying to make is you don't necessarily have to improve the graphics monumentally to make Sonic look expressive. I honestly just love the way that Sonic looks here with just this mod, and you can tell that there wasn't really much work done to the graphics overall. Yeah, Sonic just looks awesome here, and I love the way that they've been able to implement Sonic into more of a CGI-esque kind of design, and I think I've shown that in my previous videos, but being able to see this more coherently, and especially during this kind of shot, very awesome. So make sure to check out this mod. I will probably leave it in the description. And the next thing I wanted to show off was this. Now this is a very important thing that we could kind of take from, because a lot of people didn't really understand this whole beta test thing. And the reason why is because everyone was complaining about how this beta test looks far superior to anything that we actually got in Frontiers graphically. Now, by no means am I suggesting that Frontiers had bad graphics. In fact, they had absolutely amazing graphics, but you notice here that there's more lighting, there's more of a flair for Supersonic, there's just in general more animations and more of a sleeker and slasher design. And the reason for that is because of the Nintendo Switch. Now, the problem with the Switch is that it had a lot of technical limitations that didn't allow it to become so pervasive in its ability to have a high rendering output, and just in general more of a higher resolution with higher frames per second. So if we were to get that on the Switch 2, I think Frontiers 2 is looking to be not only beautiful but also majestic in the way that it is. I think what we need to start doing, and this is by no means disrespect to anyone who's on last gen, I think obviously that's, you know, it's kind of unfortunate, but at the same time we are moving into the next generation, and I believe that if Sonic Team are to wanting to become pushing technical graphics, they need to start implementing more Sonic games only on next gen consoles, because what's really limiting them is the original Switch and obviously the Xbox One and PS4. So if they wanted to actually implement higher graphical fidelity, that's where the whole next gen argument comes in place. And also just general loading times, I feel that they could make one massive island with that, so that's also very important. And speaking of massive islands, I think this would be a really cool concept. Now obviously we're going to go into the actual like substance of this video in literally like a couple minutes, but in general this is very awesome. I would love to see Frontiers set in kind of like a city kind of space area. I think this would be super awesome, because we could actually have Sonic in more of a habitable environment where there are multiple things to do, because I think there's only so much you can do in more of a medieval kind of setting. I think if Sonic was to be in a city, it would suit him as well. And I think one city I would love is to see obviously New York, but more importantly San Francisco, because the Sonic Adventure 2 Escape from the City is one of the most notorious points of the franchise, especially with the gun truck. So yeah, being able to see Sonic in San Francisco, and also it would separate a lot of the different open world games that do have a city in them, because there's not many on San Francisco. I mean, I know there's Watch Dogs 2, but apart from that, there hasn't really been any games set in San Francisco. And also being able to see the Sonic art style come to life, and just seeing how far Sega can push Sonic's graphics would be amazing. And I just think that would be one of the most coolest things that Sonic could do, having an open world in a city. And another good reason for that is that Sonic could actually adapt to the way that the city looks. So there won't just be one game on the city, but there could be potential many games in the future where they could just change things. Like for example in Spider-Man, they just changed the weather for the Miles Morales game and added a couple of new extras, which I think is a very smart play for the long time, for not only just another sequel, but also general variation between DLC and extra content and stuff like that. I think that makes the game generally more fun and doesn't make it look like as awkward, because you can't just have floating rails everywhere. I think that's when it starts to get a little bit silly. So whatever they're cooking for the next game's map, we need to have more variation in the building design. This was some general information I wanted to go over as well. This is like literally the first part before we get into the actual big stuff. Some info on the next mainline Sonic game, possibly Frontiers 2. This is pretty much confirmed it is Frontiers 2. Instead of using all that time and energy to remake a game that people could have already experienced, we can make a brand new game instead. And then I think the team is really interested in taking that same amount of time and energy and effort to really bring a new experience to players. And in the same interview, he also mentioned that modern technology allows Sonic Team to offer richer, more complex, and more interesting worlds. Now, does this confirm that we're going to have the next Sonic game only on next gen? Potentially, because I don't think they could push these technical limitations, especially with the rumored Unreal Engine 5, on the previous gen consoles. I just don't think it's possible, unless they were to make it 10 FPS, which would be, you know. It therefore stands to reason that the next Sonic game will be precisely that, a new experience with a larger, more interesting game world. And notice how on the emphasis on game world. I think obviously this isn't in the same context of the actual quote itself, but it's important to note about the game world part. Like, I think it's going to be one huge map. I do not believe that they're going to have like multiple open zones. I just don't think that's possible for Frontiers to actually have more of a standalone dynamic. And if they can prove me wrong, they can prove me wrong. But also, this is important too. From Sonic Frontiers 2 is reportedly in development by Daniel RPK. That's pretty obvious. I love this kind of like art design here. And also, this is something really interesting too. Now, this is from action-adventure, one-player, no multiplayer, a world unexplored, a new free-roaming action-adventure game that propels Sonic into a bold new direction. Now, if you read out all of this stuff here, such as the Sonic Universe characters you love, for 4 exotic islands to explore, skyscraper-sized Titan boss battles, adventure through vast terrain and powerful Starfall Islands. Now, Starfall Islands. This was a concept from 2019, Concept E, and I don't know why people are dismissing that Sonic Frontiers 2 leaks are based on the fact that it's only been 2 years since Frontiers released, and the original Frontiers were getting real leaks back in 2019. They name-dropped the Starfall Islands here, which, you know, leaks for Frontiers 2 now are plausible, and this kind of links the next couple bits of information I want to go over. So obviously they leaked the Starfall Islands here, and all of this stuff is very obvious, like very accurate. Like, we've got the new combat system. I think there's a part about the side loop. It's somewhere. I don't know exactly where it is, but there was something that was mentioning Sonic side loop. So yeah, obviously we've got Go Super to battle skyscraper-sized enemies. This is very important to actually establish that Sonic actually can have leaks now, and it's been a while. It has been a while. And also, if you notice here, so apparently some internal Sega footage leaked as well, showing 2 unannounced games. It had some early footage of Frontiers. Notice the difference between the actual, the final game, and then obviously Sonic Frontiers beta. You can notice that there's so much more things going on. There's more of a higher fidelity rate, and that is because of it was originally developed for, I think it was PC or PS5. But yeah, Frontiers had to be downgraded from the Nintendo Switch, so I think Sega need to start working more from the ground up from the Nintendo Switch if they plan to use it, but I do believe that they need to just cut it out completely and just start on the Switch too. It's been too long, and I believe that we need to start going into next gen, unfortunately. And now, this is another part from Stolen Account. Now, I've never made a single tweet before, but I believe I have found some Sonic Frontiers leaks. I take this with very light grain of salt. This is likely to be false. So yeah, I wanted to go over this. This is kind of like a more falser kind of statement before we get into this kind of stuff up here. But this is Sonic Frontiers 2 set on one giant island. The island has 3 separate sectors with a unique biome to the others. Now, I believe this to be true because they want to have multiple biomes, but I don't believe they're going for that whole open zone format. I believe that Sonic Team are going to advance for more of a bigger scale with more collectible items and more of a general polished area, rather than like 5 really like filled out islands. I was gonna say 4, but I don't really count Rhea as an island. Like, you don't really do much on that island. The style is more akin to the regular Sonic zones like Green Hill. I really hope that's not true. I hope that we can get obviously some inspired Sonic zones, but I don't want them to just primarily rehash the same thing over and over again. I think Sonic should have like some sort of like home base or something. That would be very cool to see. And Boost is the same, but established in a previous leak by another leaker is not the main way to go fast. Game is slated for December 2026 release date. Now, I believe that to be November. And the game will see the return of the Hedgehog trio, Sonic, Shadow, and Silver. Now, I believe this to be very true for Sonic and Shadow. Maybe Silver. I believe that Sonic and Shadow will be 100 and 10 billion% in the next game. I believe Shadows is there. And the reason why Shadow's there is because Shadow Generations did well. It would be a general really good PR move, and I just know that from Sega Enterprise, they really want to push Shadow. So Shadow is definitely going to be invigorated within the next Sonic story. The plot does center on a digitized Master Emerald, which actually does sound very realistic considering the plot of Sonic 2 and also the Sonic Movie 3. And also each Hedgehog has a corresponding sector to explore and do the objectives in. Yeah, I believe this ought to be true. I also believe that playable characters could potentially return, especially in DLC, because they wouldn't have just made those characters in the Final Horizon just to completely ditch them. I believe that we are going to be seeing a stronger stance on expandable Sonic characters, but we will have a general emphasis on Sonic and Shadow. And also, this is a very important kind of bit of information. Take this however you wish, but in 2021 there were 2 leaks that connect both Sonic Frontiers and Mario Odyssey. Now, the reason I wanted to point out Mario Odyssey is because, you know, they obviously were very reliable, so if you need some more credibility there are 2 games, not 1. Kind of like something I wanted to quickly go over. And now, this is something as well, but by Sage. So the fact that they say modern technology, I remember rumors that around 2023 that Sega was abandoning the Hedgehog engine for Unreal Engine 5. Now, if you want to check out what Unreal Engine 5 is, after this video, check out some images. Generally, it actually looks pretty great, but I do actually really like the integrity of the Hedgehog engine 2, so let me know what you think of that. And also, just a little word from me, the game is not going to be called Sonic Frontiers 2, this is a working title, or the name leak gave it since the next open zone game, so yeah, metaphorically it is. Now, this is a very interesting leak as well, that I do believe this to be very true, especially because the previous Sonic game, Sonic Frontiers, was actually leaked on 4chan itself, so I do believe this to be true. Do you know if there's any Sonic Frontiers 2 test or Sonic dev footage, gameplay stuff? So this is a very, sounds like a very credible 4chan leak. Working title for this game is Sonic Frontiers 2, directed by Morihiro Kishimoto, and the game has been in full development since a couple months before the Final Horizon release, which was the Sonic Frontiers DLC. AAA dev size, which is obviously important because Sonic Teams, I heard a report that Sonic Team has doubled by 48% since Sonic Frontiers Final Horizon. So it's set on a floating island called the Summit Spire. I believe this to be true because they really want to wow people. I think they're going for more of a quality over quantity type game. As you can imagine, it's related to the Angel Island, but it's on top of another bigger grounded island. The main island floats via a digitized version of the Master Emerald, and the map is way bigger than any island in Sonic Frontiers. The movement is drastically different as well. The camera is closer to Sonic, but it does go further as you gain speed. Now, I believe that they're going to have customizable camera distances and also general speed locks, so I think that's going to be very interesting to see how they execute that, but I believe that they need to have more of a stance on allowing Sonic to traverse quicker, because in Frontiers, the base Frontiers was very bland. I think that when you get the spin dash and you're also able to unlock more of the combat moves, that's when Sonic Frontiers is really fun. The base game, it wasn't the most fun for me. The only reason I say I love Frontiers is because of the way how fast you can actually go with the spin dash, and also the general jump acceleration and like taking some of the things around and clunking around with the settings. It is very dynamic but also very clunky, which I'm not really sure about that. Obviously, very early in development and the game is buggy. Almost seemingly combat remains unchanged. I believe that they're going to be adding a plethora of new moves. If I'm predicting the amount of new moves they'll be adding to Frontiers 2, I believe it's going to be between 10 to 20. The fact that they already have the foundation polished, I think that they're going to be adding about 20 new moves. And if they don't, then that's going to be a bit of a mistake. A good bit of the map is also kind of like Green Forest, which is actually very believable because they want to be pushing more of a graphical fidelity, and Green Forest is the perfect example. There is a kingdom area, but also an area that resembles Sky Sanctuary, but blue. Now that's really awesome because I believe that too. Sky Sanctuary is one of the most beautiful places in Sonic, apart from Seaside Hill, and I think that would be really awesome because it is kind of the habitus of the Master Emerald, and being able to see the Master Emerald in all of its glory, and maybe after the main story you can go back and see the Master Emerald and turn into Super Sonic at any point. Hey, that would be a pretty great experience to have, and I'm pretty sure they're using assets from Shadow Generations, Kingdom Valley. Yeah, I think they're just using that for general testing. And there are portals underground that are presumably cyberspace. Cyberspace is going to be in the game. That is pretty much going to be 90% confirmed. I believe cyberspace to be in Frontiers 2 because of how amazing that Frontiers actually can make the potential of cyberspace. But They genuinely just needed more polish, and especially after Shadow Generations, it's a no-brainer. I just really hope that they make Sonic faster, because I kind of gave Shadow a pass because he's a little bit slower than Sonic. I know that people say that they're equal speed, but I kind of understood why Sega wanted to make Shadow a bit slower to have more of like a provocative gameplay style, but Sonic needs to be fast. Very fast. That's what I really want for Frontiers 2. Psylope is returning feature, and the gimmick of this game is to use the surge ability, which is basically the boost but way faster and is used to get his crazy momentum. Doesn't last long and can be charged up. That is awesome. I think just the way of the surge ability like implementing itself, I did actually kind of suggest this idea a couple years ago when Frontiers was releasing, but obviously that wasn't implemented. But that is a very, very cool way of indicating towards the way boost can actually work without it making it super easy and just, you know, very just boring to make Sonic Frontiers work like that. And now this is also something as well that was quite interesting. There's also leaks from Powerful, if you don't know who he is, the guy that leaked Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles SpongeBob in CrossWorlds, and he says that Sonic Team is focusing on the quality of Frontiers 2. So if we go on this right here, it actually says here that November 26th is going to be a pretty good month, so November 2026. Is Frontiers 2 going to be a big shift for Sonic mainline stuff? Not necessarily, no. It's going to be really attempting to get their vision of an open world formula down. Open world, not open zone. That was to be expected. Do you expect the scale of the project both in the game itself and its marketing to be similar to that of Sonic Frontiers, or larger? If the latter, how much larger? It's going to be larger just simply due to the budget they're going to be working with now, but I wouldn't say it's going to be way larger. Let me explain a bit. Now, this is also important because I believe that Frontiers is coming out next year. I can't see why they wouldn't release it in November. They have a higher budget, they have a much higher production scale, and everyone who's making the argument that they've just released CrossWorlds needs to kind of let go of the past, because Sonic Team is bigger, they have different studios, they also have the ability to hire much more stronger, technically skilled people now. Then it's not the same Sonic Team that worked on Forces in 1 year. This is genuinely a Sonic Team that have all the power and the manpower to push out as much content as possible, and CrossWorlds was pretty much already done by January, February time, maybe even December 2024. It's just they had to go through a couple bug updates and fixes, because obviously there was a beta test and there was a bunch of gameplay. So yeah, I genuinely believe that this is like only just resumed or sped up development. To put it simply, they want to refine the open zone experience, finalize their idea of the formula, and give it a proper send-off with the evidential third title that will come after. Frontiers was an awkward experiment. Consider this them putting what they've learned, what they've worked into action, and rethinking the things that didn't work whilst taking some player feedback into account, and the player feedback is what made the Final Horizon better than what it was after all. I mean, that's true. Final Horizon was brilliant. It was an amazing expansion. Obviously, I think that some of the difficulty was stupid. Like, I think there's a difference between making a game hard, like actually like CrossWorlds, where it's actually like really rewarding to win, because that game is very fair. But then there's Frontiers, Final Horizon, where they just made the enemies faster. Like, that's not making a game harder, in my opinion. I just think it's just making the game more frustrating. And would you be able to go into further detail regarding the some player feedback, or is this as much detail you can go into? So, Frontiers 2 is going to be a lot more focused, it will be less all over the place, and the quality will be a much higher priority. Now, also the reason I believe this as well is because if you notice in Shadow Generations, guys, is that you can actually see the way that all of the designs and the ramps and the cliffs have been all meshed together. They're not flying in space. Shadow Generations has less of a weird kind of like design idea. You can't parry mid-air. There's just a bunch of things that don't seem awkward in that game and just actually look realistic. And yeah, generally the game just feels more of a polished experience, so I think that's an incredibly important part to actually put into play. And it's a bit more broad because I'm not entirely sure. Small things and big things. I know combat is a highlight and something they want to work on, which is great because Frontiers combat is awesome, and if you disagree then let me know why you don't think in the comments and I want to have a debate with you. And also, same for the typical Sonic stages. I think they started to address this fairly well in Shadow Gens, except without the speed. I think Shadow Gen should have been a bit faster, to be honest, but hey, I didn't mind it because it was Shadow. Thank you for asking these questions. I want to know one more thing. Will Frontiers 2 carry over more of the serious vibes of Frontiers 1? Same with the photorealistic natural atmospheres. I think there'll be a better balance. I don't know anything about the plot, but I know about the tone, and there was an issue for the player base. probably something they want to address. Now, I think they're going to go more back to like a funnier, aspirational kind of Sonic, but then also have those serious moments. So if you want to know exactly what I mean by that, is I mean the Final Horizon. I think the Final Horizon captured the balance of Sonic being serious, but then also having kind of those fun moments at the same time. I think that's a perfect blend, or maybe even if they look at the entire script writing of Sonic Unleashed, I think that would be awesome. But yeah, we also just need to be able to see the way that Ian Flynn can actually directly take from fan feedback, but then also relay some more of his, expertise in making the Sonic story as flushed out and amazing as possible. And also, this is pretty funny. All these leaks for Frontiers 2, and I gotta wait until the Game Awards. Another bit of really huge information. Very, very big, which I didn't even realize, right? Now, we're going to go over this first. This is another set of leaks, which don't have the biggest credibility, but I do believe them to have some sort of truth to it, because I do believe that Frontiers 2 will inhibit a lot of these qualities. So now, I know we've seen this before. Concept C, Sonic Frontiers 2 Break the Limit. The digital world is alive and it's hunting you. The action-adventure for single-player PC consoles and then direct sequel to Frontiers 2. The game evolves to an open zone formula with a living reactive world. I believe this to be a Sonic open world, but maybe they give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they don't truly know that yet. I do believe that they're going to be moving to an open world. Experience the massive interconnected biomes with real terrain deformation. I believe that to be true because obviously they're using Unreal Engine 5, so they can't just not use some of the environmental tricks that Unreal Engine 5 does have. That's pretty much confirmed because of the way the engine works, and obviously if you have some insights into the way the engine works, then that is awesome. The zones rearrange themselves in real time, so floating islands collide and digital storms rewrite the terrain. There is dimension shifting as you can walk between alternate versions of the zones with each unique physics, hazards, and secrets. And 1 minute you're grinding on neon rails in the violent cyberpunk cityscape where everyone wants you dead, and the next minute you're exploring a beautiful serene forest forilled with cherry blossoms and taking on the breathtaking views of all in the blink of an eye. And also, this is also as well for Sonic Smackdown. That is obviously we've seen that already with Sonic Blitz, so that's not really something we've got to go over there. And also, I just think that this is incredibly important too, with Sonic's sharp wit put to the test as he's hunted by a new threat, a rogue AI which can mimic his every move, forcing Sonic to outthink himself. Now, I think this is an incredibly important thing to say, because I feel like modern Sonic has this problem where he's too perfect. I think Sonic's been through so many character arcs and so many lessons throughout the games that it's very hard to make Sonic kind of imperfect, because in Frontiers he kind of seemed like he did nothing wrong. I think you need to bring back that aspect of Sonic making mistakes, even if he is the most mature version of the iteration of the character. I think that will be very important for the general evolution of Sonic. Shocking twists about the ancient fates. I think it's very important to go back into the ancients and seeing like the general story unfold between them, because it wasn't really gone into much depth in Frontiers, even though Frontiers had a pretty great story, albeit it being quite simplistic. And although their true connection to the Chaos Emeralds, rich dialogue is filled with the callbacks and references to Sonic's past adventures. I hope there's not too much of that. I think they could kind of splash it in a bit with like some posters or something, but not too much. I don't want them to force it. Next-gen speed with Unreal Engine 5's Nanile and Lumen tech makes this the fastest and most fluid Sonic game ever. Now, I believe this because of the budget, the increased Sonic team size, and also the amount of time they've been working on this game. This game of Frontiers 2 has been in story development since March 2023. Now, I know this because I saw a very reputable source in the past state this, but I can't find it. But I know that they've been working on this game ever since March, which is crazy to think about. Crazy. March 2023, they've been... Obviously, that doesn't mean that they've started like actually making the game, but there was a story concept and there was a whole bunch of really cool things going on behind the scenes. And then also there was Sonic Frontiers 2 isn't just bigger, but it's smarter, and the world fights back and your enemies learn, and the speeders never felt more explosive. This is the evolution of a Sonic adventure and its ultimate test of what freedom really means. Now, let me know what you think of this. I think it's a lot less credible, but I do believe that these conversations are actually very credible. I do believe that we're going to be seeing more of a higher production scale, and also to supplement this, Sonic City said that Takashi Iizuka confirms that Sonic Team's next mainline game will deliver a brand new experience to players, which prioritizes the innovation over remakes like Sonic Adventure, so that gives more reinforcement that we're going to be getting a game in November next year. I don't believe that there's going to be another remaster or remake or like a DLC add-on. I don't believe that to be true. This is also a very cool Sonic model. We're going to get back to information that's major. There is a crazy one, which I'm actually really excited for, that I got to show you guys, so stay tuned. This is a very, very cool Sonic model. Since Crossworlds is using the Tokyo 2020 models across the board, for my safe bet, I made a Sonic model for what I think the next model will probably look like. I think this is a very cool model because of the way that the quills are. I just want something that has longer, more expressive quills, so I actually really like this. Not a huge, like, it's not the best model, but I think it's pretty great for what we could get. And also, in general, I just want the one from Sonic Unleashed back. I would love that. And with this edit, I tried tweaking Sonic's face and head under the assumption that the changes to Sonic's model going forward would be only minor alterations, but not a substantial overhaul like Tiger Sonic, and small tweaks that Sonic's team could logically come to. So that is kind of like a general gist of things. And also, this is very cool as well. For their side mouths in Crossworlds, Sonic and Espio specifically used the lower poly mouth from the one from Gens, and the other side mouth characters like Shadow and Silver use higher poly Frontiers mouth models. Now, that's interesting, very interesting, and the reason why is because it's just like here, you can kind of notice it once you realize that those jagged edges near the cheeks or those weird little creases because they don't fit on the faces properly. Yeah, that's just them, and none of the other side mouths are like this, and I can tell you why. I couldn't tell you why if I wanted to. Now, I think that this is important because I think they kind of just ripped it straight from Gens. I have a strong feeling that that's what happened here. And it doesn't look bad. I don't think it looks terrible, but I do believe that we do need a massive overhaul for the next model. Speaking of the next model, I love this Supersonic design. This is definitely got to be up there with one of the craziest ones. Now, does it look like Adventure Sonic? Sure, but I do believe that this model does have a lot of sheen and more of a reflective texture, which I really do appreciate, and I just love the way that this model actually adapts to the lighting and the way that Sonic's eyes are just so, like, transient. I love that. It's amazing. And also, this is some very cool artwork of Sonic and Shadow here, and also Sonic on Crossroads Island. Oh, I think it's Crossroads Island? No, it's in the sea, and then there's Maria in Shadow. But yeah, this is also cool as well. Kind of a little bit of a break, but before we get into the huge news, that is actually pretty crazy, from Tales channel, the new official JP Sonic media account for Sonic CrossWorlds has shared the preview of the upcoming OST release, showcasing songs in higher quality than game counterparts, so that's very cool. It's about 7 minutes, but I'll link that in the description if you want to check that out after this video. And then this is cool because the hidden Sonic game, Sonic Rumble, is coming soon. And I think this is great. I've really missed this development of this game, and I've wondered where it's actually been, and finally we're going to be able to see this game in its full glory. It does look like it's been a lot more polished, and I love the way that the characters have a lot more expression now. It doesn't look as beta as it was before, and I also just love the fact that it's coming out in November, so we've got more of a Sonic treat for Sonic fans. It's literally in the space of a month, which is very awesome to see, and also just the way that they've been able to inhibit some of the Sonic 3 content, and also just like the Sonic and the Black Knight stuff with Shadow Generations, and obviously we've had some, crossovers with Crossworlds as well, which is very awesome. And just in general, the way that the game has had more content over the past couple months, yeah, it's pretty awesome, and I love the Eggman design there. That is very, very cool. And then also here, the Sonic Rumble is officially coming out this November, where the Sonic Movie 3 event will be returning, and people who have pre-registered the game will get the movie Sonic skin. Okay, this is great. This is awesome. And then another bit of information here, Sega and Waze have teamed up to bring Sonic to your commute. Activate the Sonic Noise voice and navigation themed icons with the inspired by Sonic Racing Crossworlds, now available on Waze. Now that's very cool. Make sure to check that out. We're going to get to the really cool bit in a second. Obviously, the Doom Wings come to Sonic Rumble. And also this is, check out the promotional video of Air Asia X Sonic Airbus. So that's very cool. Sonic's on an Airbus. I won't really go into that too much. This is some incredibly fascinated by Sonic on Waze to get compiled some of the voice clips. So some very cool new voice clips for Sonic on Waze. It's nothing crazy in terms of just in general for Frontiers 2, but very awesome on itself. Now this is something that you all might not know. Here we go, I'm calling it now. The Sonic 3D game will be announced here, Summer Games Fest, June 5th, 2026. Now, I believe that Sonic Frontiers 2 will get shown off in December for the Game Awards, and I believe that the game will get more gameplay on the 5th of June. That's what I strongly believe. If we don't get anything in December, it's going to be either early January or it's going to be June. That's what I believe, and I believe that they won't wait to show the game off in June. I think they'll show gameplay, but I think they're going to show a general CGI-esque trailer in December. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is a high inclination as to we're going to be getting the Sonic Frontiers 2 trailer in June. So that's going to be really awesome. Gameplay, potentially. And then also here's a very, very cool Sonic model as well. I like the 06 model here. And also, I would love to see a game with this art style, like especially a classic game. That would be very, very cool. And also, this is one of the coolest Sonic shoe designs I've ever seen. So for a Sonic model, especially the adventure model, this is awesome. So let me all know, just tell me all in the comments right now what you think of this model. I think it's great. I think it's really, really awesome. And also here, if you're looking for a cool event to hang out in Japan, if you guys want to take a trip to Japan or something, the guys of Sonic Off Sonic are hosting a Sonic CrossWorlds tournament and a meet on November the 8th for the day before Crush 40 and Sonic's Music Experience concert in Osaka. So that's very, very awesome there. And also, this is a very awesome Sonic model. This is genuinely by Decatsuko. You've made some amazing models, and I genuinely think this is one of my favorites. I just love the way that they've been able to blend the Unleashed, but also 06, and especially the adventure model, all deep into like this whole idea. But I know it's a shadow pose, but yeah, you can see so much more character from Sonic here. But too cool? Maybe. He looks a bit like in the shadow, like kind of like dilemma kind of energy there, even though I know it is the shadow pose. But also, I just think that the way Sonic's like quills bend back here are very cool, and I love the lighting. And also here, just want to make this clear here that this here is Sonic Voyage, not a Frontiers 2 leak, so please do not fall for that. So that's very important not to, because there's been this image floating around for a long time, so I want to point that out there, because if you ever see a leak that is showing this image, it's not true. Anyway, this is also very cool as well. One of the odd recurring details of the 90s regarding Sonic was his boot buckles being white instead of gold, and I think they're honestly pretty cool. The only issue is that they have another same color as Sonic's white stripes, which make them blend into one another. No, I just believe that we should have the gold boot buckles. And also, this is a very, very cool animation. I love the way that Sonic is so expressive here. It's obviously maybe a bit over the top, but I do like the way that the mouth looks. I think Sonic's teeth need to have a bit of a revamp, because I love the way Sonic's teeth kind of look like a vampire there. Very, very cool. And also, this is a really cool iteration about 2D art-inspired Sonic. This is very awesome. I love this. This is by John Jules here as well. And also, this is kind of just more consolidation. Our time is approaching. Soon, we will have our reckoning for the GameAwards. And also, this is a very cool Sonic model for just general fleet flair and design, so let me know what you all think of that, and make sure to like and subscribe, obviously, if you like me as a person, and make sure to check out more of these videos on the screen right now. I'll update you if we've got more news on Sonic Frontiers 2, and in general information that is going to really peak of the future of Sonic. So let me know, do you think it's going to be December, which I highly suggest. If you listen to me, I think it's going to be December. We'll get a Frontiers 2 CGI, and then June next year we're going to be getting some genuine gameplay and some very cool innovations as to the way the Frontiers 2 works, which gives us enough time to wait for November for the actual release of the game, and just more general content lined up for September and October for the release of Frontiers 2. So let me know what you think, and thanks very much for watching. I love all of you, and make sure you guys have an amazing day or night wherever you are.